Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Cynthia, and this is Including You Journals. Join me for a quick video intended for beginning junk journal creators. I have now made 14 journals or thereabout. My first journal is not here. I would not show it to anyone. It was pitiful, but my journal began, or my journal adventures, my journal road began with Mrs. Cog's video. And my mom had just passed away. My dad his health was waning, and I was up all hours of the night watching out for him, taking care of him. And as I was flipping through YouTube, scrolling through YouTube, there was Mrs. Cog's with a travel video for Wendy. Mrs. Cog's has her own channel, and Wendy is Wendy's Journal Adventure. Both of these ladies are on YouTube. They also, I know Wendy has an Etsy store. I'm not sure about Mrs. Cog's, but I do know she has items to sell. I just can't remember if they are in an Etsy store or if they are on her own website. I'll try to dig into that and list that below for you when I find it. But when I saw this beautiful canvas created travel journal that was made in a Midori fashion, in that along the spine of the journal had been created, not being sewn in as we see junk journals mostly are. This had elasticized bands through little grommets here at the top and at the bottom, and the papers were held into that. And Mrs. Cog simply deconstructed her entire journal and showed how she put it together. And for the first time, I learned what a signature was. And I was immediately drawn into junk journaling. Somehow I had the notion of, oh, I can do this. Well, I created my first junk journal. It resembled something I might have tried as a child, but I had no tools at the time. I had no ideas. I literally saw one video and I was off and running, trying to prove to myself that, yes, with a hammer and a nail, I can figure out how to create this. And I can figure out, I can go get some elasticized bands, and I can figure out how to put these papers together that I can find from whatever books that I have. So if you're watching, if you're still with me, then you are realizing that these now are journals that I have continued to create. I haven't even tried to sell my first journal. I've been trying to hone my craft because in the beginning, I was a true junk journal. I would love to be able to aspire to something made like Elizabeth Cog's, who uses what she calls petticoats and laces and hangs out all kinds of beautiful things. And even someone like Angela Carr, who creates things that are cut precisely in all these beautiful colors. I don't know if I am a junk journaler who uses everything junk, but I do use old things. I know I'm not as precise as what Mrs. Cog's or what an Angela Carr would do, but come see at least what I began with. This is one of my first 5 journals. I'm not sure exactly where it fell. I think it's more 4 or 5. I said that my mom had passed away, and I had a coat of hers, and I chose to use this particular coat as my journal cover, and it's made with a cereal box and a pocket that you can see from the coat. I just left it right where it was, and I made a little card to go in the pocket. And you can see here that this journal is a little flexible. I also mentioned Wendy Beckett. Wendy at my Journal Adventure is who Wendy is on YouTube. Wendy really inspires me. I love what I see this lady do, and she usually uses some kind of a lengthwise pocket here in the front and the back of her journal, so that she gives her journal covers a little more stability. I really like that idea. And then these are just simply things that I've created to go into this journal. A journal card, a flip pocket, This was inspired by Wendy also. She has lovely ideas, and again, using papers that I had on hand, I was truly beginning as a junk journaler. And just, I'm simply showing this to you rather quickly because this is a little pocket and a band here with a library card, of course, and some tabs that I created following some things that I learned on Mrs. Coggs. I used beads and paper clips that I could add to laces, tabs of some kind, whether they were paper or laces, and created something that I could use. I did have an old sewing machine at the time, but I'm in the process of moving, so I don't have a sewing machine handy, and I'm not doing very much sewing at all. This is something that you might see in Liz Coggs's work, or Mrs. Coggs as she is, that you can tell that this is truly, these are just junk pages, following true junk journal fashion. A little booklet that I've included for whoever gets this journal. This may be one that I keep forever because, again, it was my mom's coat, but I haven't used it in any way yet. I can't bring myself to do that right now. Oh my goodness, this is, I remember this as being a sticker, a butterfly sticker from the Dollar Tree. Here is a Southern Oil Store United Profit Sharing coupon, and then other little pieces of junk pages that I have put into a little bag pocket here. I'm sure I copied this little girl off of the internet somewhere, and I don't know where I would have copied her from to begin with. But I will tell you that for those of you who are beginning, if you're looking for ephemera and when we're getting started, we have nothing. And it takes a lot of money, I think, in order to get started, but you do it piece by piece. And one of the places that I really like to shop is, and it's not shopping, but one of the places I really go for to find ephemera, papers, pictures, old document copies of those kinds of things, I'm just going to include right here. It's called Pixabay, P-I-X-A-B-A-Y. And also to the graphics fairy. She is wonderful. She has the most wonderful images that are older and more vintage. Graphics fairy is how she goes on the internet. Okay, I believe that's correct. But I want to point that out because as you're getting started, you're going to want something that you can go to give yourself. And I also want to thank, I see so many journals, and so many of the ladies and gentlemen that are out here working in junk journals in YouTube, or on YouTube, excuse me, share how they find ideas and whatnot. And one of those for me that does a wonderful job is Nik The Booksmith. She is on YouTube and has a YouTube channel. She is someone, if you're beginning, who you would really learn quite a bit from. Nik is a bookmaker, and she demystifies all of the making of the books, and she demystifies them by taking them apart, deconstructing them, as Mrs. Coggs did for me on that very first video that I happened to see of her. And this is just a little piece of here, this old lace sewn in. You can see using bingo cards. This is a medication, old medication page that is yellow. It wasn't yellowed over time, it was already yellow, but there's plenty of room to write on there, as well as to see that it is a junk journal. This is a piece of, most of you will recognize this, just a piece of pattern paper that has been included, like a little piece of tissue paper is what it feels like. This is just sort of stamped here. Excuse me, that is not stamped at all. That would be I would have used, and my brain is not working, but something that I could color with. I'll get that thought and we'll come back to that in a minute. I found these are images that I found either on Graphics Fairy or Pixabay and printed them out on a piece of coffee or tea stain paper that I did for myself. And here is where one signature ends and one begins. A little piece of, I believe this is just a little piece of cotton that I sewed there as a ruffle. This is an envelope that I utilized here just by pinning it in. I didn't sew it, nor did I glue it, of course. You can see that. A piece of gold tissue paper. Now, I mean, in the beginning, I really was, this was just a true junk journal. You can see here, this is a belly band. And my goal was to use every kind of paper that I could put my fingers on, something that would be different. Again, this long pocket, I don't always do that, or at least I don't think that I have always done that, but I try. I really like that idea from Wendy. All right, let me show you the next one. This one would have been in the next group of maybe the last 10 journals that I created in that first 10. Again, I used a cereal box. This is just a piece of muslin, I believe here. You can tell that this is just burlap and a piece of picture paper, an old piece of old lace, part of an old wedding dress. It was an antique, just a part of an old wedding dress. Here's a paper bee, and I love playing Scrabble. My grandparents played Scrabble all of the years that I was growing up, even into my adulthood. I loved visiting them and watching them as they would play Scrabble. But you can see that this book actually has 3 signatures. They're all 3 sewn in by just a simple pamphlet stitch into cereal box. Now, of course, you can see I did not use one of those long pockets here. Here's just one at this area and some lace holding in other ephemera pieces. And I'm going to go through this not too slowly. Again, I'm sure this is something I found on the internet and copied. This is from a book of Treasury of Verse I folded and put in. I believe this image was from the Graphics Fairy, but I can't promise. It's been a while since I made that. A card for a child learning vocabulary. A simple piece of wax paper. I'm telling you, in the beginning, I didn't care. Anything that I could find that was paper that I could put into a journal, that's what I was looking for. My attempt at dyeing coffee or tea staining papers was to use an old piece of lace and lay it down on top of the paper. And of course, it's made a conglomeration of mess, but it was fun for me in the beginning. All right, you can see here. I'm pretty sure this is from the Graphics Fairy. Another Treasury of Verse just clipped in there. You see a paper clip with a little token attached to it. Okay, a little pocket, a round journaling card, a coupon. I believe we saw that in the first book. I still had several of those. Gayle Agostinelli does fabric flips. At least this is where I learned about fabric flips was from Gayle, and this was my attempt at that with a piece of lace and some old pieces of material with the intention of just simply being able to write in here and maybe hiding it as you're writing or keeping it private as you're turning a page, or if someone opened your journal, maybe they wouldn't see it right off. I have only glued this little fabric flip in, but Gayle Agostinelli, if I'm not mistaken, sews hers in at least most of the time. You can check her out. She also has a YouTube channel as well as a Etsy store, and I believe her Etsy store comes under the name of Cinnamon Tea. but she is on, and she's on daily and does really beautiful work. All right, just some things that I found somewhere and printed. And you can see this is where one signature ends, one signature begins, a second one. Again, I've included a little bit of that tissue paper. I found, you can tell that I have been working on this now for a while, and somewhere in antiquing stores or antiquing malls, I found some Denton Lumber Company paper, and I found an old piece of sheet music. And this looks like a little Valentine card that would have been utilized years ago. And I didn't know it, but it looks like the head is now missing, so my card is decapitated. I would have to take that out if I ever chose to give that away to someone. I do have a friend who has an apiary, and I've been thinking about giving this journal to her, but wanted to hold on to it long enough so that I could at least show some of my progression. A bingo card, clipped in. And I'm going to go just a little bit faster. Another fabric flip, but this time using a piece of old wedding gown. Glued in here to be able to be used and to add interest, of course. And I think the only thing I see a little different here is the fact that I utilized a doily in the middle, papers with letters that I created here, a piece of a pocket with a button that I sewed on. I'm using as a tab here. Again, for interest, notice that I've used a piece of recipe paper to include. And the end of the journal. So those were part of my first 10 that I have used. And now I am working on my next set of 10. I have an Etsy store that is called by my same YouTube channel, and that's called Including You Journals. Excuse me, I have digitals in the store, and my digitals come from Wendy Connors Beckett at My Journal Adventure on YouTube. She has a Etsy store as well where she sells her journals. They are absolutely beautiful. But these journals I created, especially this one here, with her in mind. I noticed over the years that she often named her journals. She does a lot of botany journals, and she will name them, give them female names or maybe a flower name. And I loved that idea. So I came up with my own kit, and it's just a digital kit. And also, please let me show you that I'm not using a cereal box here. I'm using a book that I probably purchased at one of the dollar stores in town, and just gutted that and put in papers here on the inside, and used a piece of cotton to go down the center to cover that center after I sewed in, or before I sewed in my signature. You can see this is a long pocket, Wendy-esque. I wish I could do as beautiful as Wendy does. I'm not there yet, but she has at least inspired me. And this book would be named then for this character that's part of my journal kit, and her name is Wilhelmina. The names could be interchanged any way possible, but you could see what goes in that journal kit. Many things I have created on my own. I hope that you're seeing, here's another one of the sisters in this kit. I've named her Maud. And I hope that you can see that my work is progressing, at least from those early first journals that I created. Something that is a pocket and also a belly band as well to utilize for keeping ephemera. A little tuck spot, pages out of a book of some kind, paper flowers purchased at Hobby Lobby, and some lace. This is not antique lace. This is just crocheted lace. It looks like something I might have bought at the Dollar Tree. This would be purchased probably from Hobby Lobby. Here's a flip inspired by Wendy, who does lots of paper flips. And my goodness, she mentions Rachel at Roxy Creations. And as I watch Rachel, I'm seeing all of these as well. And it's just lots of fun things that they include. I've gone back to, this is a piece of my mom's, an old dress of my mom's. It's not anything new, but I just simply glued in as a fabric flip a piece of ledger from an old ledger, and that's copied by me. A journaling card and a little corner tuck. Another flip, Wendy inspired. Thank you, Wendy. If you ever see this video, Wendy, please, you'll probably be picking yourself up out of the floor laughing. I know I don't come anywhere near you, but you certainly have inspired me, and I love trying at least to turn my hand with some of what you do. And I have just simply, excuse me, used, what did I use here? Dollar Tree placemats or Dollar General placemats that I've coffee dyed and tea stained. This is part of that journal kit. This is part of the journal kit as well. I'd love to do a video at some point about how I create these pockets. I love these kinds of pockets. They certainly are different from the normal kinds of pockets that we see that are just simply, square or rectangular. I've named this lady Arabella, and she's a horse rider, and I have her in here a little bit later with that. But I want you to see one thing that I've included in my journal that is also in this digital kit, and that is a letter, supposedly. Remember, I said I created it. It's a faux letter. It's not real. I did try to do a little research, but, you know, I'm an American, so how in the world would I ever be able to get this right, not being someone from the British Isles? But I have created a little paper that might have looked like the Queen's stationery from Sandringham, Norfolk, 1852. Her Majesty the Queen requests the attendance of the Ladies Luttrells, Lady Wilhelmina, Lady Maud, and Lady Arabella in the enclosure of the royal party at Ascot Heath on the 3rd day of June. I'm just making up this story. Again, this is so inspired by Wendy because she has named her journals. I had to create this little family of young ladies, young women who are ladies possibly, and that may have lived during this time. And this kind of looks like a little paper, because it's flattened, a little paper ribbon, but it's not. It is fabric ribbon. And I have just simply put that in easily with a dictionary clipping of what a horse is. And I've included, oh man, I have to tell you about this lady. This is Susie, has these in her Etsy store. Susie is on YouTube and Etsy, and she does Creative Cafe Girl. And she is, I love these flowers. They are crocheted. I don't know if they're by hand. I think they are. And look how thin that is. It takes up no room to embellish anything with. But I love to purchase from her. I purchased maybe 4 of her different flowers. Again, I found these either on Pixabay or Graphics Fairy. This is just an old piece of dictionary page. And here is Arabella with the horse, part of the digital journal kit. And this is, I'm trying to see if this is copied, or I believe this is a copied part of that ledger paper that I was able to find. All right, this is also something that I found and printed out. I could tell because it's white on the back. Another one of those flower pockets. Another journaling card with a little piece of acetate window to look through. Okay, and then this journal is very much like that. This is not, this is a kit in my, I don't know if it's actually in my Etsy store yet or not, but this person is called Euphemia. Again, I've used a windy pocket here. I love that long, tall pocket. And even on this area as well, beginning this first signature, it does windy. It gives your paper heft when you use it. And again, I have created a letter to Euphemia Morganshire from someone. It's actually from her friend. It says Lady Louise Willis, 1857. This is not real. This is created out of my own mind. I tried. I wanted to do something fun. Here is Euphemia's name and a picture of her in the digital kit. And if she's not in there right now, she will be in there. Pockets. Empire Cream Separator Company from 1910. Pockets, cards. I just utilized a paper edger to get something different here. You see this kind of really neat, cool thing done by Angela Carr sometimes in her work. I really love this idea. Possibly the home or a summer cottage where Euphemia in her day, where she might have lived. A little fabric flip. Another little flip here from Ledger, and then a third flip just to give some interest and places to write and hide your writing. Here's one of those flower pockets. I love to create those and have those in a journal. I will share that with you at another time. A longer pocket, a Wendy-esque pocket, and again another Wendy-esque pocket with some ephemera that I didn't use in the book that I simply wanted to share. Someone might choose to use that who purchases this journal. These last two journals will be in my Etsy store sometime in this coming week. The first of the week, maybe by Tuesday you could find those. And today's date is October the 29th. So we're going into, what is Tuesday would be November the 1st. So I'll say that by Tuesday, November the 1st, they should be in my Etsy store if you're interested in that. And no, I'm not going to charge $75 or $100 for these. I am nowhere near that kind of quality yet. I am still striving for that. But if you like this and would like to purchase something for yourself to have on hand and see, I hope you'll do so. At least maybe check out my Etsy store, and I hope you'll come back and join me again. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I hope you're blessed.